to Beyond the Hedges. I'm your host, David Manseri, and today we're joined by the man tasked with navigating Rice athletics through the most transformative era in college sports history. Tommy McClelland assumed duties as Rice's vice president and director of athletics in August 2023, joining us from Vanderbilt, where he was a key figure in the $300 million Vandy United campaign to support the construction of new and renovated athletic facilities at the university. A former walk-on football player and track athlete, Tommy became the youngest D1 athletic director in the country at age 26. Since arriving on South Main, he's already launched the ambitious $120 million Gateway Project, oversaw our transition into the American Athletic Conference, and is leading the charge on NIL and student-athlete wellness. Tommy, thanks for joining us to share the vision for the future of the Owls. We really appreciate you being with us.
David, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for that incredible introduction. Looking forward to our conversation today.
Awesome. Well, Tommy, I want to go back and talk about your personal journey and sort of how you got to where you are right now. So you were a walk-on, long snapper, and javelin thrower at Northwestern State, and would love to ask you how those experiences shaped your perspective as a leader. How did they inform the perspective that you have in your work today?
Yeah, so I grew up in South Louisiana, in a Eunice, Louisiana, was where I grew up, and I went to Basile High School, a
Mm.
small single A high school in Louisiana, and had a passion for playing sports and wanted the opportunity to do that. And Northwestern State was gracious enough to give me that opportunity. And I had some scholarship opportunities. I chose Northwestern State was allowing me to be a preferred walk on. Went there. I actually wind up being a deep snapper. I started off there as really an outside linebacker, and then wind up being an H-back on the offensive side for the first 3 to 4 years, and then my final year was a long snapper
Mm.
only. Uh, I think what I tell folks is that I grew up. I realized fairly early I wanted to be around sports as long as I can into adulthood. And because of the high school that I went to, which was so small, the only way that I observed an adult elongating their experience with sports was by being a coach.
Mm.
Our head football coach drove the bus, he taped the ankle, he coached the team. And so I was like, well, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then I went to college, albeit a smaller university in Louisiana. They had a front office. They had an athletic director and compliance and academics and marketing and all of the different things that reside under the umbrella. And it inspired me because I was exposed to a world that I had not known that it existed.
Mm.
And lucky for me, Northwestern State also had the first accredited master's degree program in sports management.
Huh.
And so it really kind of crystallized for me in that moment of being there, of playing those sports and saying, "Hey, this is something I want to do with my career." That's maybe not coaching, but again, exposed me to something that I didn't know even existed until I got there.
Mm. That's cool. So then, so moving forward, you become an athletic director at 26, and wonder, kind of looking back, are there any, I don't know, rookie mistakes or rookie lessons learned that you made that have been that you sort of turned into a lesson for how you lead today?
Yeah, a lot. So, I would say, well, first of all, I was named permanent athletic director when I was 26, but I fought hard at 25 to be the interim. So I actually was named interim athletic director when I was 25, and then I served as the interim for a year. That may have been the hardest year that I've served as an athletic director, so I'm going to count it. So I started at 25, and but when you early on, I had great advice from my father. So my father he worked 47 years for the United States Department of Agriculture. He was not a college administrator. I didn't grow up in a home where this was a legacy thing.
Mm. Mm.
My father gave me such great practical advice whenever I got this opportunity. He was certainly proud of me and excited, but I think he recognized, and I see that now. I have 2 boys where I'm raising, and there's the fear of, like, you accomplish something so early that there's a danger in that, right? In that,
Mm. Mm.
and he gave me great advice. He said, "Son, uh, you're gonna take criticism from people. Now you have stepped out almost into this, you recognize like this public domain in which people are going to criticize your decisions. And again, I grew up in a rural environment. He worked for the United States Department of Agriculture. So these phrases are not necessarily of the highest academic esteem, but it's like, hey, son, you're going to have an oily, thick skin and an oily back. Like you're going to have
Yeah.
to let it roll off of. And just recognizing that ultimately the skill set, people recognize your potential in that,
Mm,
but don't forget to operate out of integrity,
mm,
because as a young administrator, you may be tempted to maybe do things that could damage your career. And his voice, he's still around. He's still my best friend. I talk to my father every day, and uh, but I can hear his voice in moments of trial where he is saying, "It's never wrong to do the right thing."
mm.
And so that's where you get started. So if you think about what would I do different or right, like there's a lot of like um, strategy things, right, that we may have tried. I say we, the staff that I built with, hey, we're going to try this marketing strategy. That didn't work,
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing about becoming the athletic director at a place like McNeese is they were hungry for change and they were hungry for innovation and
Mm,
new ideas, and then also willing to be patient with your failures in those endeavors.
mm.
And so it wasn't like my first job was at a major program where
Sure.
any minor mistake in a marketing attempt or some, promo that went awry, you weren't gonna really be crucified for it. This was an opportunity to be at a place that was thirsty for innovation
Yeah.
and change and kinda rolled with you if you kinda
Yeah.
made a mistake. And so,
Yeah.
and I'm so grateful for the people in Lake Charles and in McNeese for what they allowed me to do in my career by growing into who I could be and what we could be and how I would say that 80% of the philosophy that I have in my mind of how
Mm,
to run an athletic department was formed early on at my time at McNeese,
mm,
because they gave me the freedom to fail.
mm.
And that is a credit to generally who they are and
Yeah.
and their passion, but also the leader that I had there as a
Mm.
president who had been there for a long time, and he was willing to let a young athletic director try things and it not work out.
That's awesome. All right, lots of good advice there too. That's great. So let's keep moving forward. I mean, through your career, you saw the inner workings of Conference USA, of the SEC, and so I'm curious, what was it about Rice and certainly maybe about Houston, but most specifically about Rice that felt like the right challenge for you at that point in your career when you said yes to coming to Houston?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of those things, right? So I'm the AD at McNeese. I get
Mm,
this opportunity to go to Louisiana Tech as the athletic director. So in a more traditional way, right? I
mhm,
wasn't internally promoted as I was at McNeese.
mm.
Go through a search firm, get the job at Louisiana Tech. Served there for 7 years. Was raising a family. Really enjoyed our time in Ruston. That was a Conference USA, and Rice
Yeah,
was a conference member. So
yeah,
I'm
right.
more intimately familiar with Rice because we played them in every sport. You'd be at meetings with Joe Cargard
Sure.
and David Lebron, and so you kind of get to know people in the league. And then the opportunity to go to Vanderbilt and as the deputy athletic director. So what happens is when you have the privilege, the opportunity that I had to work at a place like Vanderbilt or Rice,
Mm,
it exposes you to something different than it's not to say there's right or wrong. Like McNeese and Louisiana Tech are incredible universities, and they're serving the region very well. But to be at a high-end academic at Vanderbilt, where everyone is chasing excellence in every building,
mhm,
the people that operate across the campus are pursuing excellence at the highest level and leading globally. When you are a part of a place like that, you want to continue to be at a place like that. So then when the Rice opportunity comes up, geographically, it moves me closer to my home. Again, I'm
sure.
about 3 hours from here in South Louisiana. My wife is from Nacogdoches, Texas, so East Texas, and it gives us the opportunity to be closer to our family while also not relinquishing the things that you've kind of fallen in love with a place
Mm,
like Vanderbilt with,
mm,
because those things it's not to say that they're the same. They're 2 separate
sure.
universities, but everyone on the campus at Rice University is pursuing excellence. Every day I stare out my window and I see the Shepherd School of Music,
Mm,
and I know that Dean Loden and his team there, every day they are meeting, they are trying to beat
mm,
Juilliard and
mm,
other incredible musicals, and it's inspiring, whether it's the engineering school at Rice or the business school, the humanities. We are pursuing excellence in every crevice of this campus,
mm,
and I wanna be on a campus like that.
mm,
And so be able to get back into the athletic director chair, as I had experienced at McNeese and Louisiana Tech, to do it geographically close to family, and then to do it at a place that you have now kind of in an ethos standpoint, you've now kind of
mm,
gotten in a groove with, it really was an incredible opportunity for me to come to Rice, and
mm,
I wanna tell you that on its surface, there was an attraction, and then you had the opportunity to meet President DeRoche and
mm,
our chairman, Rob Ladd, and, other board members that were on there, Brian Patterson and Ellie
mm,
Anderson, and by the time you get done, you can tell that there is a thirst and a hunger
mm,
for their athletic program to
mm,
grow, right? And it's like it's not that they're prescribing what it is that we will be, but what they're saying is, "We know that we can do better. You were at a place that was similarly situated in a
mm,
large metropolitan city with high academic
mm,
standards, where it's maybe at times tough to compete, and yet you were doing that. So how would we approach that at Rice?" And what I love is that they've given us the freedom to create our own blueprint for success here at Rice
mm,
and have been very supportive financially, but also just understanding how you have to approach this day and age in college athletics and recognize that, every opportunity we have to be on TV is really
mm,
a win for
mm,
Rice
mm.
University.
Yeah. So, and maybe one last question just to build on that. I mean, a unique challenge, or I think probably many people would say also unique opportunity, right, is balancing at a place like Rice the elite academic mission with a commitment to winning now, right, in athletics. And so how are you thinking about that? How have you been thinking about that in the last few years since you came to Houston?
It is to some may be viewed as a challenge.
Mm,
To others, it is the incredible opportunity.
mm,
There's so many ways that I could answer this question. First of all, I want to kind of state the obvious that sometimes people don't necessarily think about, particularly people that came to Rice and that,
mm.
they think, well, I would always have gone to Rice. But
Yeah.
um, when you, what the most beautiful thing is that when you say you're a coach and you reach out to recruit a kid and you say, hey, I'm Coach so and so and I'm with Rice University, immediately there's a filter that happens.
Mm,
And it's either not for them or it is.
mm.
If you're at any other school in our conference, that filter doesn't really exist
Huh, yeah.
because I'm just saying that if you get a phone call, I'm not going to name other schools, but from any of the regional public universities that we have, it then becomes, do I like the coach? Is it
Mm,
pay me more money? What is the transactional thought around
right.
that? But when the 17th ranked university in the country says, "I am interested in recruiting you to play high-level sports at the group of 5," which, by the way, we sit on an island in that, and I think we need to
Mm,
lean into this further. So if you're at the Power 4 level, there are multiple people in the top 20, right? So it's Stanford,
sure.
Vanderbilt, Duke, Notre Dame, we can kind of name those people that are there. If you're in the Ivies or Division III, there's a grouping in that top
Right.
20. In the group of 5, which is where we compete athletically, the next closest to us, I think, is in the 60s,
Mm,
and it's actually UMass
hmm,
and then Tulane.
hmm,
And so we sit very isolated, but in this unique position where if you want high academics and you wanna compete at the group of 5, there's only one choice.
mm,
That's a beautiful filter. Now, what happens is you have to then get past that filter to make
sure.
sure that they are relentless in their pursuit of competitiveness and they wanna win, and they're not just, quote,
Right.
using the opportunity to kinda get into, to get a degree.
Yeah.
And so, um, but what I would say, like, when you think about our coaches, that we have here we've got some really strong legacy coaches. Um, People that have been here for 15 plus years,
Mm,
Jenny Volpe,
mm,
John Warren, Jim Bevan, Seth Houston, Justin Email. And all of these coaches, and matter of fact, the majority of these coaches have not only been here long, but they have won conference championships in the last 3 to 5 years. And so what that tells you is they're continuing to find ways to evolve and adapt as head coaches, but they are benefiting through this filter, and that they recognize that there are athletes out there who want to compete at a very high level, particularly Texas athletes that don't want to leave the state. And we have continued to win in this realm because when you pick up the phone and you say, "I'm so and so, and I'm with Rice University," it's either they're either attracted to the next part of the conversation or they're trying to hang up and go somewhere else. And I think that it's a beautiful thing. It really, like in our football program during the transfer portal period that we just had, we had an incredible hit rate on the kids that we targeted, that we had conversations on that came to campus. I would say it was above 80% of the kids that came, we got. And part of it is because there's a real strong understanding of who we are. And you're either for that when you choose to get on a plane and come visit here, or you're not.
All right, you touched on so many things. Well, first of all, that was incredibly compelling case for why somebody should come to Rice and be a student athlete at Rice. And I want to come back to some of the things that you talked about, but I want to move next to talking a little bit about the big news about some of the changes that are happening on campus related to athletics and athletic facilities. And there's a new initiative that I'm sure many alumni are aware of, the Gateway Project. But wanted to ask you to talk about that project. Why did you feel it was important? Again, I'm sure many alumni know about it, but there might be some who don't, and wanted to ask if you could talk about that for a bit and why you feel like that's important for Rice athletics.
Yeah. I think, again, this goes back to maybe some familiarity with this situation when you think about Vanderbilt, right? And so Vanderbilt and Rice both had stadiums that at one time were modern and no longer are. And in this day and age, it's not about how many seats you can have in aluminum bleacher or aluminum bleacher people coming in, eating popcorn and leaving. It's entertainment, and you are competing here in Houston, certainly at Vanderbilt, with the Grand Ole Opry and Bridgestone Arena and all of the Broadway, right? And it's the same thing here. If you have discretionary income and you're choosing to entertain yourself, you have options. So you go to the museum district here, you could go to the symphony, you could go to all the different theaters that we have.
Right.
The NRG, you'd go to Toyota Center, and in all of those cases, you're gonna have a menu of options on how you're choosing to use your money to entertain yourself. And what's happened is at one point, we had the jewel of the city, but it's no longer that case.
Right.
We
Right.
we we don't get events that we used to get. There are no more, presidential candidates or currently presidents gonna come and speak at our stadium. We're no longer getting, major sporting events
Right.
outside Rice. We're no longer getting, concerts that people have grown up to talk about. I've heard all the stories about the ones that they've had. And we need to create the next generation of things that will not only first and foremost benefit our football program, right? We have a football program and we want to be successful. What we have to do is begin to shift our mind to think that it's not Rice Football Stadium, that it is the Rice Community Stadium, and that football is going to be the primary tenant, but that we need to expand the things that we do in it in a yearly basis. That's not to say that we're gonna have concerts every weekend or that we're gonna have international soccer every weekend, but we should not look up in a given year and say the only thing that happened there was our conference slate, a graduation. And so then what happens is in this world that we live in right now, everyone is building sporting events or sporting facilities and tying them to mixed use development and retail and residential. And in some cases, they are actually spending millions of dollars, hundreds of $1,000,000 to create the mixed use development in the residential and the retail. Well, we already have it. It's called Rice Village.
Right.
So there are plans to invest in Rice Village, but for the most part, we don't have to go out and build Rice Villages
Yeah.
there. So we are reversing what a lot of people are doing. We're going to invest in our sporting venue and create a more stronger and easier connection into Rice Village.
Mm.
And what this will do is create a more symbiotic relationship between our for-profit and our nonprofit.
Mhm.
And that is happening everywhere across the country. I
Mm.
mean, within college athletics, it's also happening at the major sporting venues. And so over time, once we improve this, so we're lowering the capacity down about 30,000,
Right.
increasing the amenities and the premium, creating a club level or a banquet size room that can hold 6 to 650 on banquet size, which is the largest would be the largest capacity on our campus.
Mm.
And that will benefit our faculty. It's going to benefit our students for events, but it's also going to become a source of revenue for
Mhm.
outside events where they're looking for something that maybe they don't want to go into the Med District or maybe they don't want to go to downtown. And this becomes an opportunity for us to create more revenue. We're also going to widen the sidelines to allow for FIFA standards.
Hmm.
I think that if had this project already been done, there's no question we would be a practice site.
Yeah.
This, but because the sidelines are not wide enough, we're not designated as
Mhm.
a practice site. And so it's just it kind of becomes endless in the amount of engagement that we can
Sure.
have with our community and how we can benefit the Rice community. And make no mistake about it, we're not trying to hide from it. This is going to improve things for our football program. I
Right.
mean, it shows and it signals that football can be a strategy here to how we move the needle in athletics.
Mm.
And again, I go back to my experience at Vanderbilt.
Mm.
It was the same thing. And now this investment that's happened primarily around the football venue has been a catalyst for success that's happened. It's been a banner year for them.
Sure.
Football wins, men's and women's basketball's off to a great start. Soccer went really deep. So it's not just, oh, they're investing in
Right.
football, the only thing that matters. It truly is an engine that pulls an entire train line
Mhm.
towards success. And that's just the way that the world works right now. So we
Yeah.
want to make sure people are viewing us as investing in our football program and then using that success so that our so that our soccer program and our volleyball programs
Mhm.
and our tennis programs continue to win. And part of that is, as we think about what might lie ahead in conference realignment in the future
Mhm.
or how things might shift, as good as we may be in an Olympic sport, that is not going to be what drives the conversation around
Mhm.
association with schools.
Right.
So if we think about a cohort of students, our schools, we can all name that we might want to be a part of in the future. That conversation will primarily be driven around how have we invested in our football team,
Mhm.
not necessarily because it's the priority, but it is the strategy on how we are viewed in general, as the world may change.
Mhm.
And so, and by the way, our best chance for our volleyball team to get another at-large bid is for them to continue to have a great conference slate
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
teams. If we were to somehow slide down into a
Uh,
different,
yeah.
it makes that volleyball team have to win even more games, right? If you're in the SEC or in the Big Ten, you can win half your volleyball games in
Mhm.
conference in an
Mhm.
at-large. So we want to invest in where we may end up one day so that all of our programs, including our baseball program that has had historical success, can have another chance to get to Omaha.
That's awesome. Well, I would just say, as an alum, certainly appreciated related to Rice Stadium, the sort of attempt to preserve some of the historical aspects of that place while also, so in some ways, sort of right sizing it for the work of the future. I think I don't know that really resonated with me when I saw the sort
We're
of
trying to be
design for
really
what it looks
intentional. We
like.
recognize the incredible history, not only that has happened there, but the history of how it was built,
Sure.
and we want to preserve that. At the same time, you know, it's not it's not an artifact. It should be viewed as
Yeah.
a source of revenue and connectivity
Right.
with our community. And if we don't improve and then continue to modernize and invest it, it then becomes simply an artifact.
Well said. One other question about the stadium, and you mentioned this a little bit, but I'd be curious if you could share a little bit more. If I'm someone who lives in Houston and I'm listening to this conversation. What are some of the other experiences that I might expect taking place at Rice Stadium that I might not have thought about Rice Stadium in the past? You mentioned a couple of examples, but I'm just curious about how you think that the new work at the stadium may position it to host things for the other 350 days or so of the year when Rice football's not playing there.
Well, I think first of all, again, going back to the core is this is going to improve the Rice football program.
Mhm.
And so then even if you say, well, okay, I wanted you to talk about these other, no, I'm going to say, once we do this,
Yeah.
our ability to expand to reach fans that we have not previously
Mhm.
reached, because
Mm.
we can create the place to be on this side of Houston
Yeah.
in the neighborhood. This is like, this can be the neighborhood's team, right?
Mhm.
It's probably hard to say you're gonna be
Sure.
Houston's. It's just
Yeah.
4 million people or whatever, but it's like we can be or the 4th largest city in the country, but we can be this neighborhood's team
Yeah.
or this neighborhood's college town, and because it's gonna be the place to be, you're gonna have a club level, you're gonna have a great experience. I
Mhm.
do think that it's gonna change the way people view, what they may do in this area on
Mhm.
Saturday.
Yeah.
And then
Great.
as it expands the options, I think, again, concerts are an obvious, we want to be able to, and this is about giving back. It is gonna be a revenue source for us, but, we have a campus community, faculty and staff, we have students that it's part of the experience, right? If you go to other campuses and that's where you went to school, you probably have experienced a concert of sort. We want to be able to give this to our campus community. And then you have the local community where we do miss out on some concert opportunities
Sure.
because they're either have to be an NRG or they have to be in a smaller venue, and
Right.
we've done a study, we would fit right in the middle
Yeah.
of where there's different acts that would garner 30 to 35,000,
Right.
but they're too small to get an NRG and they're too big for Toyota.
Yeah.
This is gonna be another opportunity for our community to engage in entertainment. And then the other one is the FIFA, opportunities where when, I don't know, Canada's playing Argentina, and again, it's not as big of a deal for NRG, but how can this be we could be situated where we're an option for a sellout that creates an incredible atmosphere, and then this
Atmosphere.
goes
Yeah.
back to that Rice Village conversation. Imagine a big friendly match that's happening, or maybe it's part of an international, countable match, but now it's happening at Rice Stadium, people are pouring out, and they're going into the village. All that does is continue to support the local economy
Yeah.
because we've now brought more quality events to the area.
That's great. Great. All right. I want to shift to maybe talk a little bit more about something we started talking about a bit ago, and that I know folks are curious about and are paying a lot of attention to, and that's just how the college sort of athletics landscape is changing with NIL and some of these other changes that we've seen more recently. And again, you talked about this a little bit already, Tommy, but I'm curious, just in a world of revenue sharing and NIL, at the end of the day, how do you think a school like Rice competes for talent without compromising the kinds of things that feel critical and true to what it means to go to Rice?
Every day, and I would say just we have to that has to continue to be in the forefront. So if the first conversation that comes out of a student athlete's mouth is being recruited either out of high school or out of the portal is how much are you gonna pay me? I would almost certainty tell you none of our coaches advance that
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that we're not participating. We
Sure.
we are above average in our own league in terms of the way we are compensating. But that can't be the first conversation
Right.
because we want it to be about the opportunity to come
Mm.
to a place like Rice University.
Mm.
And then, yes, it is this extension, if you will, of what was a scholarship that now extends into name, image, and likeness
Yeah.
or payments. But what I would say, and I have to remind our coaches a lot about this because it can get where they can be frustrated at times because even the youngest of coaches, right? If they've coached at least for 4 or 5 years as a
Mm.
head coach, they lived in an old world and now a new world.
Mm.
And in the old world, and how most people were raised up in this business, you would think about a student athlete as a 4-year
Right.
project.
Right.
and you would think about them, and you would think about how you were designing the team
Yeah.
in a 4-year curriculum,
Right.
right? And so, to
And
use an
developing that player over 4
to use an
years and
academic
right.
term, right? It's like
Yep.
year 1, I'm probably maybe beating you down a little bit and
Yeah.
rewiring you.
Yep.
And then year 2 curriculum, year 3 curriculum, and 4 curriculum, and you would have a varying amounts of people on your team that were migrating through
Yeah.
this curriculum at
Right.
different points. And then you would create this cohesive team, and it would feel very, fulfilling for them to have this 4-year experience. They graduate, they get a degree, you win a championship, whatever. Well, now, and that feels very, there's a lot of, like, redeeming quality in that. We've transformed his life. And what I have to challenge our coaches is to say, you have to build 1-year curriculum
Mm.
that can have the same level of impact, that if you do well, I think gets you to year 2, but instead of a 4-year curriculum, it's a 1-year curriculum it's 4 1-year
Yeah.
curriculums.
Right.
Yeah. And what I would say is this: do you not believe that in 1 year you can make a difference in an individual life?
Mm.
Does it only take 4 years to influence someone?
Right.
I would say that I have met people in my life where I've maybe only met them 1 time, and they've made an impact on
Yeah.
me. And so, how so going back to we've gotta be tethered to who we are,
Yeah.
we have to rethink, if I only have them for 1 year, and again, I don't like it either, okay? But you can fight against it, or you can say,
Sure.
"Alright, if I only have them for 1 year,
Yeah.
how am I going to influence them the most in their entire life?" Through the professors they meet, because they will be introduced to that,
Yeah.
through the network of people that they get to meet in the alumni and the external network, and then through how I'm gonna build a relationship and challenge you athletically. And generally speaking, we are more retained than our counterparts, right? So we're not inoculated from transfer portal,
Sure.
but we retain at a higher level than, others in our league.
Mm.
And that's because on the front end, there was a filter, and they chose Rice, and so that's harder to give up. And the data would suggest that we get them closer to the end of their junior year or midway through the junior year, we've got a great chance. But we had a young man who was with us for 3 years, didn't have an could have graduated, wind up transferring to a different school,
Mm.
and he was brokenhearted. He wanted to come to Rice, but he got this incredible opportunity financially. Okay, so we can make the debate. Well, they give up a Rice degree. What I would say is, I'm almost certain, after having spent time with this person for two
Mm.
and a half
Yeah.
that, even if this person graduates from the school they transferred, they will have been changed by
Mm.
Rice
Mm.
University.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact.
Mm.
We are graduating students. That is the
Yeah.
goal.
Sure.
But we're saying, how do we take our coaches to have them to really melt this down to say,
Yeah.
"How do I do this?" And then I believe if we approach it that way and we do it well, we stand a chance to get them to year 2. We
Mm.
stand a better chance to get them to year 3. But if you get frustrated because 'cause they're not here in 4 years, you probably are gonna get frustrated in general with
Mm.
the way the world is right now.
Mm. Mm. Makes sense. All right, so I want to talk about 2 other kind of aspects of athletics at Rice, and then we'll move to our kind of lightning round questions that we've been asking everybody. But one question I want to ask you is that we've seen in the last couple of years the return of diving, we've seen the addition of women's golf, and curious about how you're seeing the footprint specifically of women's sports as a priority at Rice, and how that plays into the rest of the kind of athletic department priorities right now.
No, I'm so grateful for the support that our board and our campus leadership and Reggie, in this endeavor. When I first got here, we kind of recognized, hey, we really should add a women's sport.
Mm.
And it was no hesitation. Hey, do the research. Let's figure out. Now, to be fair, we also thought this was going to be a 3, 4, 5 year plan to kind of
Mhm.
maybe roll this out. And through the incredible generosity of Lynn Elsenhands, who stepped up and said, "No, I've always felt that we should have women's golf,"
Mm.
and she made an endowment gift that has supported our women's golf program to start it. They basically, for lack of a better term, did not create another mouth to feed, right? So we in this
Yeah.
world where resources are tight
Sure.
and you really do have to go. And so you want to be careful that as you're expanding, you're not incubating the things that you already have that you've made a
Mhm.
commitment to. And Lynn allowed us to do that without worrying about it being something that's taking away.
Mm.
And it's off to an incredible start. So we added, first of all, we added diving, which by the way, I would say was nominal and just so grateful that we did it.
Yeah.
Uh, it immediately had a return. In the very first year that we added diving, we won a
Mm.
conference championship.
Yeah.
Gonna repeat that in a couple weeks. Um, and then we added women's golf, which there, I think it's 32 Division I
Mm.
schools in the state of Texas, and all of them had women's golf except Rice.
Mm.
And so now we were the last ones in and currently have an incredible recruiting class. We have 4 young ladies that are on campus now. They're playing in basically a redshirt hybrid year.
Mm.
And then in fall of 26, the remainder of the kids that we recruited will show up.
Yeah.
And that class is currently the 11th ranked recruiting class in the country. And so the early indication is that what we thought from the beginning, which is Rice should be pretty good at women's golf, has been so far backed up by the talent that has
Mm.
been attracted to come to Rice.
Mm.
And so it's just it's also a belief that um, if there's a good reason and a good explanation on why we should do something, Rice doesn't shy away from that
Yeah.
conversation
Yeah.
and willing to invest in it. And then you have donors that are willing to also support that endeavor.
Yeah.
Um, it just makes so much sense for
Mm.
us to continue to invest in sports that we know that we can be successful in.
Sure. Great. Okay. And then last, Tommy, let's look ahead 5 years. And I'm just curious about what's your vision of what championship success looks like at Rice? What do you want to see? What do you hope will be true? And then I don't know, maybe importantly for our listeners, what do you need the Rice alumni community do to help you get there?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, long term, we're working on some infrastructure things, obviously the stadium and that is there's financial need there, as we're raising capital to build, that transformational project.
Mm.
Um, that's gonna happen, and then that's gonna come and go. I think you have to have the facility. It's a source of revenue. It's a signal of change. We've got to continue to invest in our programmatic things, in our sports, in our teams. That's one thing that I'm grateful for here. That like our academic support and the way that we approach the student athlete experience and the way that our student athletes can come here and not only now in this world be compensated, but the way that they are invested in, the way that we do networking with them, and the way that we are making sure that they're not only getting the rigor in the academic setting and the testing athletically, but we're really truly working to prepare them for life outside of this.
Mhm.
And it is the best I've ever been in any place. We do it absolutely the best. And part of that is calling upon former athletes to come back in some of
Yeah.
these dramatic ways,
Yep.
and they respond. So that's also why it's enriching is because we have great participation.
Mm.
Um, again, I don't wanna put limits on what is possible. I would say that I would remind people that with the day that Wayne Graham got hired, Rice had, I think, 8 winning seasons since the beginning of playing baseball. Played baseball presumably from 1912 to 92, and they'd had 8 winning seasons. In his first team meeting, he said, "We're going to win the national championship, and if you don't believe me, you should leave." At the time, that felt like insanity.
Mm.
It doesn't anymore, and I don't wanna put any parameters on what is
Yeah.
possible at a place like Rice.
Great.
Rice University helped put people on the moon, and I don't want anyone to tell me what we can and can't do, what our student athletes can and can't do, and what's possible. Now, we also wanna be pragmatic, and we wanna be practical, but what I've learned is that every place has a different kinda threshold of where maybe success could lie. And so, like with our volleyball program and our women's basketball program not right now, and they're just kind of really playing well in conference play. Obviously, they're chasing high level national recognition. Other programs are maybe a little bit in a different stage where we're just trying to get over a win-loss threshold. But I think that every program at Rice University has the ability to compete for conference championships. And when you compete for conference championships, you put yourself in a position to be nationally relevant. Then when you're nationally relevant, anything is possible.
Yeah. And then Tommy, what do you need alumni to do to help you get there? What's
Yeah, I think
yeah.
generally speaking, presence matters. So first and foremost, we want you to come to events. If you're already in town, please come. If you're when you're coming into town, come to games. When we go to you, if you're in a city that we play in, come. Because in anything that you do, the Shepherd School, it's a lot different. You're gonna have a performance and there's no one in the audience. Presence matters. So I want to ask people to come. The second thing, these are simple tasks. The second thing is be an ambassador. We have great gear, right? We've got hats of lapels. We've got t-shirts. Many of you travel. You're in airports. You're moving about. We have a big win. Put that hat on. You know what's surprising? I didn't know that I had so many people that went to Indiana University that lived in my neighborhood and went to my church this past weekend. All of a sudden, they're very proud. I would ask our people to be great ambassadors for the brand. And wearing the R doesn't necessarily mean that you're supporting one team over the other or that you're supporting athletics over academics. You're supporting the university. And so I would say that. And then secondly, find a passion that you can give to. If you're really interested in what our female sports are doing, we got avenues for you to support them. If you're really excited about what Coach Abel's doing in year one with our football program, we've got ways for you to support that. The fact that we brought Coach Pierce back home in our baseball program is going to be a stock that I would encourage anyone to buy in. There's ways to support that. But, you have to get in the game. If there is an outcome that you desire, if you're disappointed when we lose, what are you doing about helping us to stop that? It's like complaining about the outcome of an election, but you don't vote or you didn't campaign for someone. Get in the game. We're asking you to come and help us because we
Yeah.
can use the help. We're at a place where every dollar and every person matters.
That's awesome. And I would just say, Tommy, as an alum that's not in Houston, being able to watch the Owls on ESPN Plus is a big benefit too. It keeps me much more connected to what's
Of
happening
course.
on that
Yeah,
side.
it allows you to stay really connected, but, when you're watching that game, throw a hat on. Send us
Yeah,
a Facebook tweet or something or
absolutely.
Facebook.
Absolutely. All right. So, our three quick rapid fire questions to close our conversation that we've asked everybody. Tommy, what's your favorite spot on the Rice campus?
Oh, that's a great question. It's hard not to say the quad or Lovett Hall, when you walk through there, and then, it's been redone, so it's probably different for people, maybe their experience, but it's just such a pleasant place. I unless it is pouring down rain, even in August, when I park my vehicle here at Tudor Fieldhouse and I have a meeting on campus, I walk everywhere. I walk to every meeting. It's such a pleasant experience. It allows you to engage with faculty and staff. In a campus this size, you're going to walk across people and I love to engage with people and ask them how they're doing. But walking across the quad, the academic
Yeah,
quad, is pretty impressive.
that's great. All right. What's the best book you've read recently?
Oh, that's a great question, and by the way, I did not, I didn't get to there, so you are cold. I see that now. It was on the 3rd page. Uh, well, let's see, I've got 2 here. Which one did I read? Okay, this was probably though I did this one during football season on road trip. So, we've got
Great.
basically confronting the presidents. It was basically every president from Washington through, Biden. So and it's like 4 or 5 pages on each one. I learned things about a lot of the presidents early on that I didn't even know,
Yeah.
and, I like history, and then generally speaking, I like leadership books. I have not read this book yet, but I did get this one, Unreasonable Hospitality, Remarkable Power of Giving People More Than They Expect. And I
Okay.
think as if you're a person in my role, that's what we want. We want people to come to our games. Obviously, we want to win, but when they leave, we want them to feel a certain way about the way
Yeah.
that we made them feel.
Yeah, great. And you can see, Tommy, I've got my presidential history books right
Yeah,
here on
yeah.
this row of the
I've read
bookshelf
the Abe
here.
Lin
So
I have read the Abe Lincoln book that's over
yeah.
your left
Yeah,
shoulder
yeah.
there.
All right, and then last question. So when students apply to Rice, they are presented with the box. And this is a box, it's a question where they share an image or really anything that is meaningful to them. And so I'm curious that to hear if you were applying to Rice, what image would you put in your box?
A trophy.
Mhm. All right.
I as the athletic director, that's where my mind is
Yeah.
if I was applying as a student, probably not a trophy, uh, but if I was apply if when I applied for the athletic director job, they put a blank box, I would have drawn a trophy in there.
Hey, I'll take it. That's great. Great answer. Tommy, it's been really a pleasure to talk with you today and grateful for your leadership. So glad you're at Rice and for sharing the compelling vision for how you are building the future of Rice athletics. Really grateful for the time and for what you're doing each and every day. And yeah, just fortunate for to have your leadership at Rice.
Thank you, David, I appreciate you so much.
And then to our listeners, just want to say thank you for tuning in today. To learn more about Rice Athletics, you can visit riceowls.com. And be sure to subscribe to Beyond the Hedges wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on social media and leave us a review. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time.